رحمن يا رحيم.
Welcome back to the Nafisa Danga Show. And if you've just tuned in, you really missed out on a very interesting interview with an agripreneur. And if you missed out on that, then you can look at the podcast a little bit later, where you can entice yourself into getting involved with agriculture, which I thought was very phenomenal coming from a female. So go and have a look at that one. Talking about phenomenal people, I'm going to be interviewing a really wonderful woman who's been going out there and doing so much for communities in the form of many directions. So let me just give you a little bit of an idea of my guest is Dr. Maimoona Salim. She's a global citizen, a social entrepreneur, a mentor, philanthropist, and a servant leader. Her background is in business administration and in commerce. She has been active in the development space since 2005 and has been involved in youth and women empowerment initiatives in South Africa and Nigeria. But she's going to pen out more about her journey with me this morning. And I really think it's something interesting that you need to sit down and listen to and get enticed into better spaces and places. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very warm welcome to the Nafisa Dango Show. It's such a pleasure and an honor having you on this morning.
Thank you so much, Nafisa. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's so nice to see you again. And I'm so elated to be here and for the opportunity. Thank you, Salam Media, for the opportunity.
It's always been a pleasure. I mean, getting involved with people like yourselves and enticing others to look at what you do in your phenomenal spaces is what it's about. And I think the show teaches people to look at people like yourselves and say, how can we get involved and how can we change narratives? Because that's what it's about. It's about changing narratives. Talk to us a little bit about yourself. I find your portfolio and your journey very interesting, and I'd like for you to pen it out to our viewers this morning. Dr. Maimoona, are you there? Okay, we seem to be having a bit of a signal problem. We're going to try and get her back on the line, but while we're waiting, Sister Maimoona, are you back on the line?
Back.
Okay, we seem to be.
I just want to apologize in advance. Nigeria, the network is horrible, so please bear with me.
Not a problem, my dear. I think it's okay. We'll just get our guests, should we say, more enticed into waiting to listen to the amazing stuff that you have to tell us. So I started off by saying, you've been such a phenomenal person with the types of things you have done for people. And I wanted you to pen out a portfolio of the service and passion for social and individual development and what inspired you to actually get involved with this, because I think it's something where you have to have a passion to be able to do that, to be able to develop people, to be able to develop individuals. I don't think it's one of the easiest kind of things because you've got to tap into their potentials first.
Yeah. So, Nafisa, let me start off by saying and introducing myself properly. I mean, you've got my bio, my portfolio. However, a lot of people have this curiosity of who is Maimoona actually? Where does she come from? And I'm a Durbanite, born in South Africa, in Durban. And I come from a very small community called the Makwa Zanzibar community, where it's very Islamic and Muslims. And I lived most of my life in Durban, schooled in Durban, and then qualified in Durban and left to live in Johannesburg. So I have been out there in Durban, Johannesburg, Cape Town, lived my life in South Africa. And eventually I went out to the other parts of the world, trying to look for opportunities and seeing how I could now spread my wings. In saying that, you speak of how did you get into this development space, and this has to be passion. I think it's when you're growing up and you find around you people like my grandmother, my dad, giving back to humanity, serving humanity, and not expecting anything back. And you look at it and you say, is this the essence? This is what we are do in life. And then it started resonating when I was quite much older, although I knew I was doing it from a young age, always trying to give back, always trying to serve, always trying to make a difference. And when I started in 2005, I worked in corporate, I worked in retail, I worked in the service industry, and I always found that I had this innate passion and I wanted to change. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to give back and never expecting anything back. And I said, but what is this? You never understand what it is. And eventually eventually somebody says, you should go into the NGO space or join an NPO. And I thought, what is that? And I started to research on it. And I thought, actually, this is a better way of making a difference. And I started training youth in 2005 and getting them to see that they can make a difference.
Dr. Maimoona, are you there still on the line? Just bear with us. Sister Maimoona is in Nigeria. So, of course, as she said to us, the signals are.
Standing.
Oh, there we go. Are we back on Are we back on air again? We seem to be having quite a bad signal, my dear. Apologies for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were just talking, like you were saying, you're talking your journey. Interesting that you come from the KZN area from with
the
a tribe.
And then I found that this was not enough.
With a tribe that I never heard of, which I found interesting. But you know what? I must tell you, looking at your profile and looking at what you've done, I think you found your purpose and your calling in life by doing what you're doing right now. Because I have a motto, and I think you have that motto too: is that each one of us is born with a purpose. And I recall you saying on one of your videos that this is what your life is. It's a part of your life. It's not something that you do as a job because it's your passion. And when you start, I think, realizing that essence that it brings into people's lives is when you realize you've actually reached your calling.
Absolutely. And when I look back at Maimoona, who she was and who she is now, I've become to realize that I've always been there to serve humanity. And we all have it in us. We all have that within us. But we need to now find that purpose and look towards doing this continuously. So it's not about a project. This is not a project. I mean, a lot of people say, what have you done? What projects have you done? No, it's actually a solution around social challenges, things that we face every day that we take for granted: education, skills, unemployment, gender-based violence. These are all service and challenges that humanity go through, and challenges and we need to find solutions. And how do you solution on these challenges? What is it that you do? So people say, you call yourself a philanthropist, you must have a lot of money. No, it's not about money. Philanthropy is not about money. The wealth of philanthropy is your time. And nobody can give you that. If somebody sacrifices the time, they've given you a lot. And how they sacrifice the time and giving back to you, what is it that they give back to you, and how do they do it? And I find that people actually enjoy and want it. Yes, you need money to do this. I mean, I haven't earned a salary in the last 3 years. I don't know what it is to earn a salary in my bank account. But what I know is to find funds to be able to assist those in need. Now I know how to look for those funds, what to do, and how to help others. And this resonates so much because it's impactful. You're making a difference. You're helping others. And it's continuous change, and change is ever constant, I've learned. I mean, the company organizations I worked with, like the NGOs, was always there for me to understand how people are. Like, let me give you an example. I work for hospice in South Africa.
Yes,
hospice.
That's right.
And hospice, it took me to see a person dying on the bed of cancer, to realize that actually everything that we constitute as material, as wealth, is not wealth. And that person has a lot of money, has millions in the bank account, but cannot save their lives because it's time for them to go. So what is it? That life, what is our purpose? And I always have that ringing in my head. What am I to do to make that difference? How am I supposed to do it? And then reality struck when I came to Nigeria, because South Africa, I tell you, we are very cocooned. We are very in our little box, in our shell, and we see things, but we do not see things. Well, visit Africa. I've been to Mozambique also. Poverty is a reality. Violence, gender-based violence, is a reality. Street children without education is a reality. Those moms that are out there who do not have a single cent to send the child to school, and she has to make money to feed her child, what would she choose? She would choose to actually feed her family. And those are things we take for granted until you are sitting in that situation and seeing it. I cry my heart out before I used to just cry, because the pain, you see that what people go through, the reality. And then I say, okay, so how do I, Maimoona, make a difference? Not looking for organization, but Maimoona myself make a difference. What
Yes.
can I do to help those? Because you sit with the challenge of a whole cluster of problems and challenges, and you say,
Mm,
what do I do first? And I
mm,
found myself now trying to dissect it and say,
mm,
okay, the children need assistance with education. What am I going to do there to help them to get to school? And this is where my kindred spirit, my friend, she's also in Nigeria. She's also in the same background, and she's been doing it for years with no money. And she's
mhm,
taken her company that she's built and built a CSR arm, and every kobo that goes there, every cent that goes there, she has now put it into empowering and doing sustainable programs that will empower the youth and women in communities. And nobody funds it. We don't get grants. We use it from our own pocket. So when I say we haven't actually worked for
mm,
any money, we actually give back. And this is the reality. So you get different stages and different levels of philanthropy. Yeah, the very
mm,
wealthy who want to do something and give away. Yes, there are CSR, which organizations do. And then you get the individuals who want to make a
mm,
difference. And how
mm,
do you make a difference? It's not about saying, okay, I'm going there now. Okay, I'm going to this rural area and I'm going to see children and I need to buy them school shoes. Are those kids going to school? Do they
exactly.
need the school shoes? So how do you solution? So we go into areas, we diagnose, we go and do a diagnostic, we actually go and find out what are the requirements, what are the challenges, what are the gaps, what do they require? And I heard you last speaker speaking about agriculture.
Mm,
Agriculture is the way to go. It's a form of survival and sustainability. You're looking to
mm,
sustain an economy, a community, and grow get into agriculture. And every one of us can start. By an example, our backyards, we can start growing this little something and contributing that to marginalized groups. What is that little something? Your veggies,
mm,
your fruit, etc. And we take this for
mm,
granted. But you know, the
mhm.
first time I came to Nigeria, and Nigeria happened by default. If I tell you the story, I didn't come here
Mm,
to stay in Nigeria. I come to Nigeria to visit, and the next thing was COVID. I was locked down, and I said, "What am I going to do? I'm stuck in
right.
Nigeria." And then I was lucky enough to be in a community where I was surrounded by a whole lot of youth and youngsters and women who were actually not exposed to speaking English. So I
Hmm.
started to teach them English. And from
Wow.
there, I started to teach the women how to cook properly, the healthy
Mm,
meal. The kids how to now start fending for themselves. So it was basically different elements that I started putting together. And that's how I got into agriculture also. And I found that was
wow.
phenomenal because agriculture, we built co-ops that is
Yes.
putting groups of women together to be able to be sustainable. You have to create a value chain within an ecosystem. One
Most
cannot
definitely.
survive on your own. And
I
that's
so
what
agree with you. And this is what I was just saying earlier. I think it's
mm,
defining firstly two things that you've punned on is firstly defining the
mm,
needs of the community. But
correct.
inevitably, every single community needs some form of sustainability. And this is why I spoke to my guest earlier, where agriculture is the long-term version of sustainability. It's one thing to go
Correct.
out there and give somebody a plate of food for the day, but another to be able to empower them from a sustainable level to say, we can teach you something, or as you said, start off on a
Mm,
small scale, start doing it for yourself, and then start growing it further. And
correct.
the ideology of yours that I loved was the fact that you spoke to me about being a philanthropist. I'm
Mm,
also doing NPO work. I've been for with a brand ambassador for an NPO for so many, like something like 10 years. But I think it's
yes.
the importance of realizing that philanthropy is not about just giving money, but it's giving your time and your love and your passion and nurturing those that are in those communities and changing the narratives of those communities. And I think that's what's important.
Absolutely. And Nafisa, a lot of people are doing this. A lot of people are giving of their time. A lot of people are trying to make a difference. But working in silos that's what's killing us. We need to come
Mm,
together. We need to
that's
look
true.
at how we're going to grow the nations. And now, I mean, the biggest element of the social challenge now is mental wellness.
Mm,
People have come out a very traumatic experience that is COVID, and we take it for
true.
granted that everyone's going to lift off and carry on a life. And we are all in survival mode at the moment. So how do we take that now and make it a positive element in people's lives for them to progress? To start seeing that what is it that we need to survive? How are we going to survive? And what is it that we're going to help each other? And this is where the disparity is when it comes to the rich and the poor. Because the poor do not have the tools, and the rich has all the tools to be able to do it. So how we go in there, we actually do mental wellness programs, look at how we're going to help.
Dr. Maimoona, I'm going to come in there for a second. We're just going to go for a quick break, and then we can carry on with this conversation. It's a very interesting one.
Thank you.
Are over. Welcome to Libertas Group, a blockchain developing company boasting an ecosystem that continually redefines the way we do business. Our blockchain is decentralized, making it immune to hacking or alteration, putting the power back in your hands with no middleman so you can focus on the growth of your business. Libertas, the simplest investment choice you'll make.
Decades of war, devastating drought, and economic collapse have pushed the Afghan people to the edge of survival. 24 million need life-saving aid, and 5 million children are knocking on famine's door. The world cannot just watch as this terrible crisis unfolds. With your support, the Al-Imdad Foundation is delivering emergency relief to the Afghan people. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
With so many investment options today, it's only natural that you might feel a little confused which route to take. Should I buy shares or should I invest in gold bullion? Randery Jewelers now brings you the Zahab coin, an alternative to the Kruger Rand. The Zahab coin, a solid wealth protector in its purest form of 24-karat gold, is the safest way to protect your wealth. So don't just sit there and watch your paper money depreciate. Change to gold. Call Randery Jewelers now at 031 202 4701 or visit www.rjcoin.co.za, situated at 151 Estonwood Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Approximately 785 million people in this world do not have access to safe, clean water. In developing countries, around 80% of all illnesses are due to contaminated water and poor sanitation. Don't let dirty water end a life. Build a water well in Bangladesh, Malawi, Nepal, Zimbabwe, or here at home in South Africa. Donate to Penny Appeal's Thirst Relief Project to bring safe, clean water to communities around the world. www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
Welcome back to the show. And how many of us are a voice for the voiceless? And I'm speaking to somebody that I think fits that profile so very aptly, an amazing woman. And Zaytun Mahzia says, Dr. Maimoona Salim, so proud of you, Kaz. May Allah continue to use you to serve humanity. Wow, that's an interesting one. Dr. Maimoona, that came from your cousin, a very interesting message. I must say, you're an inspiration to many. And as I said when we just came back from the break, definitely a voice for the voiceless. And that's what I call you, a brand ambassador for those that need upliftment, for those that need empowerment, and for those that need, should we say, inspiration, because you are true inspiration to people like ourselves out there to want to ask ourselves every single day, what is it that we can do to better people's lives? And I think that is your life's motto. I think every single day when you wake up is you ask yourself, what is it that I can do to make someone's lives better? Because I want you to explain to our viewers what your values are based on, because really honestly speaking, I think it means a lot to know that there's people like yourselves out there with these kinds of value systems. Dr. Maimoona, are you on the line still?
I'm here. I'm back.
That's good. Okay, so as I was saying, you're a voice for the voiceless.
I'm back.
And indeed, I must say a hearty congratulations from myself and the team, because people like yourselves that go out there teach us that that there's life's purposes that we need to fill. And I want you to explain to our viewers the values that you use and base your life on to be able to go out there and do that. Because we wake up every single morning, and I think we need to ask ourselves the question, what is it that we can do today to better somebody else's life?
Correct. I'm back, Nafisa.
Yes. Okay. So the question was, talk to us about your based values. As I said, about the fact that you're a voice for the voiceless, and you wake up every morning, and I see this in you, and you ask yourself,
Yes.
what can I do today to help somebody and change their narrative? So,
Yes.
Doc, what sort of
Yes.
value system do you use as far as this goes?
So, I always say to people, I mean, this is what we train the youth and we train, out there and mentor, is to say every one of us has values. And from the time you grow up, from a child, time you are born, there are values that are instilled in you. And the one thing my dad always taught us about the values that you should carry with you for the rest of your life. Number one is integrity and respect. Right? He always says, respect your elders, respect people around you if you want to be respected. And then integrity, always do the right thing, even if nobody is watching, And then my one is empathy. I find that I've always been empathetic, looking at others and understanding the situation, putting myself in their shoes, and then being accountable. How accountable am I for what am I doing? Accountability is every one of us should be accountable for why we're on this earth. What are we here to do? And Islamically, we always taught, be accountable as a Muslim in what you do in your actions. And every day, because somebody is always watching you, or even if they're not watching you, are you being accountable? And then the other one would be what you call it, it's respect, accountability, service to humanity. So I believe in serving humanity and giving back, and always looking at how I can help others, no matter what the situation. Even the one thing I always say to
I'm
people.
going to quickly interrupt there. Hakeem Somama says, Alhamdulillah, my mother, so proud of you. May Allah continue to shower you with all his blessings.
Oh, thank you, my son. Yes. So for me, it's looking at even your neighbor. It starts at home. You find that we take it for granted that our neighbors are okay. If you do not know how your neighbor is doing, and you're going out there and helping others, and your neighbor hasn't had a meal, that for me says a lot. And this is the society we live in, is that we forget about the people who are close to home before we go out there. Start looking around you to help those around you. That is philanthropy, giving them your time, because somebody may have been on top and tomorrow they write down and they don't know where to turn because of shame. They don't want to face society. And you are there right next to them, but you don't notice because we don't have the time. Make the time for every person.
Exactly.
And that's humanity, that's service, that's giving back, is your time.
Definitely. You couldn't have said that better. I mean, and as you said, when we started off, you said it's not about the money. It's about giving your time and giving your sincerity and doing it with a true heart and passion to say, this is my service to humanity. And you've been a true inspiration to us this morning. And I hope that there's going to be many other Dr. Maimoona Salims like yourself out there. It goes to show that you got stranded in Nigeria for a definite purpose from the Almighty.
Absolutely.
And you have definitely fulfilled it in many direction. So, Alhamdulillah, loads of blessings. I want to say from the
Ameen.
Salam Media team, I think we owe you an award and a real shout out. You've been a true inspiration for us to keep
Ameen.
us going in many directions as far as giving back is concerned. So, shukran for joining us
Ameen.
and wishing you all the
Ameen.
best. And I'm hoping that at some point in time we can reconnect again. So, all the
Thank
best
you
going
so
forward.
much. Shukran, Nafisa. It's been wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, this came as a surprise also, but I love giving back. And anytime, to assist. And I mean, you know what? No work is big enough for me to do. I'm here to serve. And thank you again for Salam Media for the opportunity. And may Allah reward you. Thank you so much.
Ameen. And likewise, it's been an absolute pleasure. Allah keep blessing you with all that wonderful work that you're doing and keep it going. From myself and the team, have a lovely one. Assalamu alaikum wa
Shukran.
rahmatullahi wa
Wa
barakatuh.
alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What a wonderful human being. Definitely teaching us philanthropy in many directions. And as she said, it's not about giving monetary value, but giving back in time and changing that narrative of just one individual is good enough for the day. Thank you. And we'll be back with you in a second.